Today's video, this is all about machining my castings that I've made from sewing machine scrap. So this is the first one I poured, the second and the last. We'll have a quick look at this last one. There are a few problems there. So this is the last casting I poured, and you can see there's a nice little shrink hole in there, and plus another one just there. Now put a piece of wire down it, so when you see these holes you always poke a wire down it, because if you think they don't go down very far, have a look at that. That's about 11 millimeters. There's no hope of that cleaning up. But what I'll do, I'll still machine this casting because I want to see from the last to the second and the cylinder the first, and want to see exactly how they machine up. I was going to show you this video clip at the end of the video, but it's a very interesting thing to have a look at. I've machined it. See how far it goes down, and there's lots of holes in there. So this is why I've said, if you've got holes like that, throw away the casting. But now I've said that, I'm going to have a go at repairing it, and you'll see whether I've failed or whether it worked or not at the end of the video. Now that was the first cut off the casting surface. You can see this area here has still got to be done. It still needs more off it. If you're wondering how much I took off the first cut, it was 0.25 millimeters. If you're wondering how small that is, if you laid 5 human hairs side by side, that's the distance. So what I'll do now, I'll wind it out. See, that's the part where it hasn't machined, then I'll wind it in. Yeah, it hasn't got much to go, so now I know what to go for the next cut. As you can see, it's cleaned up. For most of my castings, smaller ones like this, I usually allow about 1/2 millimetre, which is not much, to clean up. In a really bad case scenario, I would probably take off about 1 millimetre, which is a lot. Before I start machining this flange, I'll show you how I set up my castings in a 4-jaw chuck. This is the pattern for this cylinder. And when you wrap it, it goes that way and that way. Even if you hit it on an angle like that, it's still going to enlarge those flanges. And what I'll do, I'll show you with the cutting tool just how much they do expand. And what happens is, in here and in here, they're larger than they are here. We've got the close-up of the flange. Now, this is the bottom of the flange. You'll see there's a gap. And this is the side of the flange. You'll see there's no gap. Now we come to the other side of the flange. We've got the same gap. And then we come over the other side. As you can see, the flange does widen when you wrap them. The idea is to wrap them not too much. This one I wrapped a lot because it's difficult to pull out of the sand. But that's the penalty you pay, and it makes it hard to actually set up. The flange has been centralised, but still not going to run completely true. So I'll switch on the lathe and you'll see what happens. That is the best I can hope for, because the flange is not a true circle, but it's possibly an egg shape. This is how I set up my casting in the 4-jaw chuck. I just use the dial, this one here, and we've got it on the bottom of the flange. Now I'll screw it up and it comes in about 4.5 below 0. Now I'll just carefully bring it round. Now this is 180 degrees and we'll see what it comes up to. Yeah, so it's fairly close. Now the same thing goes for the side of the flange where it really distorts. So what reading have we got here? So I've got about 183.5. So I'll swing it around 180 degrees. And there we've got it about a little bit less. But you've got to remember these flanges are distorted. Plus I mightn't have filed off enough, but I reckon that's good enough. Central, and I'll start machining. This is the first cut, so what I'll do, I'll take a 0.025 millimetre cut. Because this surface is very rough, it may cut a lot more on one side than the other, and I have to be very careful and quick to switch off the feed, otherwise it'll dig in. Is the second cut, so it's 0.25 millimetres again. As you can see, it's not quite machined up properly. There's still a bit of a depression there. So what I do, just wind the tool over like that, and you see your top slide or your compound slide. I just use the dial and screw it up, and then I know roughly how deep that depression is. So as I wind it back, so I've set it for the next cut, and that cut will be 0.25 millimeters, and that should clean it up properly. This is the final cut. So what I've done, I've swapped out the tungsten carbide tip tool and put in a high-speed facing tool. It's got a nice big radius on it, and it gives a nice finish on the casting surface. Finishing cut. It's come out really smooth, so now I'm ready for the next stage. Got a drill and tap thread in there and put a hole all the way through into the bore. So when you paint your castings, I'll show you a little trick. Now see the casting, see where it's been trimmed, you can see the light reflecting off where I filed it. Now that shows up a lot when you paint it, so I'll show you how I fix that. So we've got a tungsten burr there. This is the surface where I've used the burr grinder, and what happens is it doesn't look as obvious where you've filed it, and the best way to do it is to give it a light grind all over the surface of the casting, and it makes it very hard to distinguish where I've trimmed that casting. This is the last part of the video, and now I'm machining the miniature anvil. Now I've taken a couple of light cuts, and you can see there's a bit of a dip in there. This is where the gating came into the casting, and as the riser wasn't big enough, it does tend to shrink a little bit. It's got a bit of a dip there, so I'll have to take a bit more off there. And the other problem is, you see the pack is underneath here. This is to keep the casting level. For this area here, I don't want to take too much off one end because of this dip. It will take up a lot of metal. So I've taken just over a millimetre in 3 cuts, and you can see there's a little bit left over there. I was hoping an extra deeper cut on the last cut would do it, but it's not, so I've got to take one more cut. And I'll show you also when the milling machine's running with the fly cutter, it is rather noisy. All the castings have been machined, and I'll give you a quick look at the machined surface there. That's the top part of the anvil, that's the bottom part. This is number 2 anvil. There's the bottom part. And this is the cylinder, been machined. And the bore come out really nice. Do you remember what I said earlier on in the video, that I was going to repair one of the castings? Well, there's the 2 anvils side by side. See if you can pick where I repaired it and which anvil it is. Now normally I don't repair castings, I usually pour another one. But with the anvil, I thought I'll just try it, and because it's a machined surface, you can't see the repair. But when it comes to a pressure casting like this, they do have problems, and if you try and repair them, invariably they will leak. So it's a bad idea, most cases, to repair casting, just do them over again. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. You saw how I set up the casting in the 4-jaw chuck. Now I'd like to know exactly how you do it. It'd be interesting for me. Just put your answer in the comment section. And the second question is, you saw that hole in the casting. Now I'm still not sure exactly why that happened, but is there anyone brave enough to say why that happened and how to fix it? Be interested to know your answers. Put them in the comment section for me.